you back to the Christian Book Castle, Usu.
And we would watch the videos and take them into consideration. However, we've decided that we'll give you the opportunity to play the videos. And whatever you want to show us in the videos, you'll be able to do so. I'd like to find out how many individual videos there are.
My Lord, if my memory serves me, there are bits and pieces. Some are short as 15 seconds, but in all, I think there are about 9 in all. Yeah. 8 or 9 of them.
Now,
some which have already been shown
yeah,
by the commission.
Okay. Were any of them edited?
My Lord, those that came from none has been edited by me.
Okay.
Those that came from the media houses, based on my recollection of evidence of events on the day, the sequence of events may have been switched, but that is, and you see that has been put out by the media houses, either UTV, Joy TV, or City TV, but not by myself. And it's like one of them is what was shown to me yesterday, which I indicated that the sequence may not have followed the exact sequence of events on the day, but they are true reflections of what happened on the day.
All right, let's go ahead and play the video.
My Lord, respectfully, would I be allowed to give an explanation of the video when I play it?
You will be.
Thank you very much, my Lord. That's fine. Okay, my Lord, this video is a video. Let me just pause it. This particular video is a video that was shot by the City FM reporter that I mentioned, Mr. Hansen Ajiman, if my memory serves me right. He's a City FM reporter. He's a national service personnel with City FM. He was covering this event or the election there. He was the one in this room, and in this video you will see that he was standing, I was in the room there. He took a pan of what was going on outside. You would see the ballot box that had been moved from the polling station into the room, and you see the EC officer inside an inner room who was hiding to establish what happened there. I'll just play it from the beginning for you, my Lord. So you realize we're inside the room, my Lord. That's the ballot box in the corner there. You see it with the seals on it, and that's the EC officer in there holding her papers. And then this was through the room. This was after I had been assaulted and run into the building. At this point in time, it was a free-for-all where people were just being picked up and beaten. This next video also, we've seen as part of a City FM video that shows the masked men and the vehicles, and it shows you the accoutrements they were carrying. Sidearms are seen on some of the masked men. This is part of the I brought this video because we were told, I've heard testimony before this commission that said that the men in khaki trousers were not armed, but you see some of them carrying sidearms here, my Lord. Then, my Lord, this video came to me from a gentleman who was our agent when I say our agent, the NDC's agent, at the polling station when I arrived at the polling station. When I arrived at the polling station, I made the point that this commission has had testimony that I arrived with 15 motorbikes. I have given testimony that I arrived alone in my vehicle, and there was a second vehicle, a green Land Rover belonging to the Deputy National Women's Organizer, and that when we arrived, we were stopped at the entrance of the premises, and that there was an alighting of the vehicle by the unmasked men to Mamiefua's vehicle, and that caused me to come out of my vehicle. He noticed the confusion and started filming from the building where the polling station was. So you would not be able to see my vehicle, but you see that this is the entrance. This is the entrance of the place. The vehicles were moving out when we arrived. So they had finished their presence there. The convoy was actually leaving before we arrived. In subsequent videos, you will see my white Camry parked here because that is after I had arrived. But at this point in time, the convoy was leaving.
So your vehicle is not shown in this video?
It's not shown in this video. But you would realize that the convoy was leaving and then it gets stopped. And then the crowd starts massing up there. At this point in time, my vehicle was just behind, out of shot here, because I was driving lead and Mamiefua's vehicle was behind. You would realize that they begin to alight from their vehicles and walk in that direction. That is when they said they had noticed she had taken a picture of them. And so they were going to her vehicle. I was sitting in my vehicle and I saw the masked men get down and begin to go to the second vehicle, which was Mamiefua's vehicle behind me. You see them continue to alight and head there. It was that which made me get out of my vehicle, because I was driving in some form of convoy, let me say. The two vehicles were moving together to that polling station. So when I noticed that they were all going there, I tried to find out what was. You would see a white vehicle there. So DSP Azugu, I was engaging DSP Azugu here to try to get them to release her phone. And then you realize that they began trooping. After they finished with us at that end, they started running, and you see them begin to move behind the building. And that's where that video came to an end. They started moving behind the building. This other video is a video that I said I also came to my knowledge that was shot from within the premises of Mr. Brimpong. Now, when I listened to the video, in there you would realize the point at which I arrived at the scene of Mr. Brimpong's house, because the person shooting the video mentioned my name and said, "Oh, that is him," and mentioned my name. That was when I just appeared on the scene. So again, the testimony that I had fled into that house after I had been sacked from the polling station, and that is what made, and then there were gunshots that led to the team from National Security coming to the place. You would watch the video and see that the National Security team was there even before I arrived. So this is from the top of Mr. Brimpong's house, someone in an elevated position. You will see the masked men, you will see the crowd of people. That's a woman there carrying a child walking through. That's a woman carrying a child walking through. You see that there were bits and pieces of scuffles going on between the masked men or the armed National Security clad attired men and then the crowd that was there.
You see, this is a clear example. As for this guy, what is he trying to do now? What is his problem?
You kept hearing the tasers going off in the video. At this point, my lord, I wasn't going to see. So then you hear, "This is the guy I like so much," and my name was mentioned, Sam Judge, because that was when I arrived, and I was trying to find out and make out what was going on, what they were doing. It was at this point I noticed the gentleman I mentioned to the commission as Double, who appeared to be leading the team yesterday. My lord, all of this time there had been no gunshots. No gunshots. This is a video that I think the commission has already seen. But this video again, let me just establish that this, in the sequence of things, this video was after the shooting incident at Mr. Brimpong's house. And then after the assault on the gentleman who I have found to be called Harvey, I know he's called Harvey, who I thought at the time of the attack on him was deceased, that I referenced as saying you can't kill a man in his own house. So this was post that. If you remember from my testimony yesterday, I told the commission that an issue of a key that had been seized arose, and I was asked to walk with Double to the vehicle to retrieve that key. After I walked to his vehicle and the key could not be retrieved, I was walking back. So you realize I was walking right back from outside of the premises back into the premises. And that's when I started saying that this is so wrong.
Every score, but no matter how long it takes, you will find. This is so wrong. You killed a man in his own house. His own house. We'll see you guys. We'll see you guys. In his own house. In his own house. Be careful. You killed a man in his own house.
At this point in time, you hear my name twice. So you realize I noticed someone had been assaulted. I was looking at that when the gentleman I have identified as Mohammed Sule, the son of the late Nantona, who is a resident of Old Fadama, started the assault on me. And then there was a second officer who hit me who was wearing the max cloth. My lord, this video for me was immediately after we had arrived, when Mami Ifwa's phone had been given to her, after I'd approached DSP Samuel Kojo Azugu, and he had resolved that issue. When I noticed the men were running towards that building, this was me walking with him and raising issue with him that, look, why are his men going? He should intervene and stop them from going because we didn't want any issue. I was walking between DSP Azugu.
Please slow down now.
So I'm sorry. I was walking between DSP Kojo Azugu and Double. So you would realize that I was walking by the two people who I established had some level of command and control over the men there. So that's DSP Azugu, that's myself, Double, and the ballistic helmet. And then you had the other maxed men. Now this is the video of the gentleman. And this video was shot after we had left the scene. At the time of the assault, when I deemed that he was deceased, you could see the bleeding even post all of that. He was lying motionless at the time that I saw him and I left the scene with Double. This was immediately after the shooting incident at Mr. Brimpong's house.
Can you play the video?
Yes, I will start it again. The lady who is standing over him is Mami Ifwa, the Deputy National Women Organizer. That's her. It's come to my knowledge that the gentleman is actually her cousin. And that is how come yesterday, if you remember in my testimony, I said that whilst we were walking away, I encountered her coming in and screaming, "Mwekuno, Mwekuno, Mwekuno," to which you've killed him, you've killed him, you've killed him. At that time, he was motionless. And I had seen the assault on him. So I'm just going to play the video. You see the cement block I said had been used in the assault on him. And my lord, this video is another video that was shot from within that room where the hiding was going on. In this video, you would see one of the masked men using an axe to attack an unarmed citizen. I'm going to play it again so that you look at it closely. An axe was being used, and you would, if you look at it closely, you would see marks of tear on his shirt from where the axe makes impact with his body. So you see from within the room, that's it. So that's an axe being used on him. Now that's the gentleman who assaulted me wearing the shirt with the security, still carrying out further assault. And that's DSP Kojo Azugu. clearly not in control of the men on the ground on the day. This man was unarmed, and this continued. And that's Mami Ifua's vehicle in the background there, the Land Rover. My Lord, this was another incident. All of this was shot whilst the person was in hiding. So you can see it's through the window pane. And these are the marksmen. There again, you see double in the shot. You see more of the masked men. There you see an AK-47 in the hands of a masked, khaki-wearing man. We're told that the operatives do not carry arms. That's the gentleman. This video I said I will show to the commission, because whilst watching the commission's hearings, I've heard testimony that suggested that the man was not having blood on his singlet. My Lord, I will play it again from the beginning so that you watch closely the gentleman's singlet and you will see the blood. Again, it was shot from hiding. That's him there, the blood on his singlet.
Just pause it. Do you know who this gentleman is?
I do not know, my Lord. But in going through, like I said, with being one of the key victims of this assault, a lot of video has come of the incident from independent sources who took footage on the day. And many people have shared videos with me, and I've seen some of the things. Again, my Lord, as a member of parliament who has constituents, I felt that this will help the commission in the exercise of your work. But I did see the blood stains there, and I just thought that I should bring it to the attention. And my Lord, you hear the gunshots. I would play that video again. At the tail end of it, you would hear the gunshot. And this was after I had run from the assault. You will still hear the gunshots being fired.
One gunshot.
One gunshot. I think, my Lord, we've come back to the end of the videos. These are the sequences of videos. Apart from the videos, there were a couple of pictures which I also tendered in evidence that I thought could help us with the work, with my testimony. Just a minute, please. These are some of the pictures. This picture I took as a still grab from a video that City Newsroom put out of this gentleman. It was supposed to substantiate the claim of invisible force members that I made in my Facebook post, because you see him as part of the national security guard, and then you see him, there's another picture I have of him where as a member of the invisible forces wearing full military regalia. His name is Bala. I found out his name to be Bala. There are a couple of them which I would like to show the commission. Okay, these are just still grabs, but if okay, this was the assaults. Basically, we tried to take still image shots from the videos of unarmed people. Okay, my Lord, this picture shows the number of men in each of the vehicles when I challenged the 60 as the total number of men on operation. They had 10 vehicles. These are just 2 of the vehicles. You see that there are way more than 6 men in each vehicle. My Lord, these were some of the masks that were worn on the day. Just a minute, my Lord. Okay, this gentleman, for example, is clad in the NSC attire, but I found out his name to be Samuel Ochri, a resident of Kumasi. And he has been seen in pictures of the invisible forces also. So again, another picture to show evidence of what I spoke about. Then the gentleman who assaulted me, I've been able to pick up pictures from his own postings on social media that show him in what appears to be other operations. And I've shared this with the police service because it appears that they keep saying that I was attacked by somebody and they're unable to identify who he is. That's him in there. I've got a number of pictures of him. That's him again there with other men apparently on some form of operation. Him again. And again. My Lord.
Well, these pictures of him
Yes, my Lord.
were taken by
Himself and his friends whilst on what appears to be other operations. But for me, it helps me to. I'm only doing this to aid the security services who say they are trying to identify one of the two people who led the assault on me.
So how did you get these pictures?
My Lord, from social media, his Facebook handle, and that handle. And if you watch the video again of the assault on me, you would make him out because he wasn't masked on the day of the assault. He was the one who you'd realize that I pointed at and asked. I mean, I made full visual contact with him for well over 10 seconds. That's good enough for me to remember the man who assaulted me, my Lord. So, my Lord, this is about all that I wanted to show yesterday, to just aid the commission to substantiate there was this last one I would show. It's a video. This I got from UTV. It's a UTV footage. My Lord, the reason I'm showing this footage is because, again, it doesn't follow the full sequence of events on the day. But you would realize this scene was shot by UTV whilst the siege on Mr. Brimpong's house was ongoing. Again, I've looked closely. I don't see DSP Kojo Azugo. Yesterday, I spoke about a red pickup. That's the red pickup there where I took cover. That's the red pickup. That red pickup bears a bullet hole today from the shooting. And the entry point of the bullet hole was through the back of the bullet. The crowd that was at Mr. Brimpong's house was at the far end, and the national security team was on this end. They were subsequently pushed back by the crowd before the shooting happened. My Lord, this video will show portions of the assault on me from a different angle. All of this was after the shooting incident. You see that there were people standing there and complaining, my Lord. And my Lord, if I take it back a little, just for emphasis, you'd see that's my white vehicle that I spoke about now being parked there. That's the car I drove, and that's Mami Efua's car. Now, my Lord, that is the assault on me from a different angle. You will see me in the green, olive green long sleeve shirt I was wearing and brown trousers that I was wearing. You will just see that. So that's me right there whilst the assault was ongoing. That's me retreating. And then you see everybody took to their heels. And my Lord, watch. This were people who were all around there. People were standing by and just watching. Just like this gentleman. And you saw the brutalization that went. And you heard the middleman saying, it's time for them to run. These were just bystanders, my Lord. I'm grateful, my Lord. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Counsel, do you have any questions you want to ask before we commence our examination?
Counsel, just Mr. Chairman, for the record, Dr. Dominic Ayene.
Yeah.
With me is Francis Tosu.
Okay.
For Honorable Sam George.
Okay.
I apologize to the Commission for coming in a bit late.
That's okay.
Honorable, you're welcome.
Thank you, my Lord.
Now, the video shot from Mr. Brimpong's house, do you know who shot it?
My Lord, I picked it off the social media. I told you it came to my knowledge. I do not know who personally shot it.
Very well. But then, in that video, you see a number of people converged at a point. Where exactly is that?
That's the residence of Mr. Kwesi Brimpong that I came to know.
If we can see that video again, is it possible?
You want me to play the full thing?
from the scene as shown right now, how far is it to the gate of Mr. Bimpong's house?
My lord, this is almost the entrance to Mr. Brimpong's house, because if you watch the video further, you would see that the gate is, it's barely 5 meters. That's the gate of Mr. Brimpong is just right here.
In the course of this video, you arrived at the scene, am I right?
Yes, in the course of the video, you notice that I was pointed out because I just arrived at the scene.
Are you able to tell the commission what exactly was happening at that point in that video?
My lord, as I have stated this morning while showing the video to the commission, when I got there, I noticed different bits of scuffles going on between people in the crowd and members of the National Security Council who were wearing the NSC emblazoned T-shirts. So I noticed scuffles ongoing.
And was this before or after the shooting?
Way before the shooting. At this point in time, there had been no shooting, my lord.
So then, where were you when the shooting started?
My lord, at this point, let me just state that I grew up in Nigeria.
You consider, please.
Thank you, my lord. I grew up in Nigeria and I've seen political violence. And it's informed my decision to constantly de-escalate any issue of political violence. That is how, when I saw the first instance with Mami Efua, I quickly reached out to the leader of the team to de-escalate. And let's not forget that this was sometime a few minutes past 8 in the morning. As soon as I got here and saw the tensions that were flaring, the armed men and then the men and women who had massed up in the crowd, I saw the potential for violence. I immediately tried to establish who was in charge or seemed to be in control and reach out to that person for us to have a de-escalation. That was the point I reached out to Double again and tried to de-escalate with him. My lord, in all fairness, when I engaged him, he indicated that if I could talk to the crowd to maintain their line, he and his men would retreat. We reached that agreement, in all fairness to him.
And all that while the shooting had not taken place?
No, my lord, there had been no shooting.
Now, are you able to tell the commission exactly what led to the shooting?
My lord, as I remember, and as I testified before this commission yesterday, whilst trying to get him to call his men back, and me trying to get the crowd to hold a line, and my lord, it was pretty chaotic. A scuffle broke out, this time between about 4 of the armed men and about 4 men in the crowd. It was pretty intense. It was at that point I had my back to, I don't know if I could stand, my lord, because, my lord, if I use this room as the scene, the armed men were on this side, Double was standing here, Mr. Brimpong's house is this way, and then the crowd was here. I had spoken to Double just close to the gate of Mr. Brimpong. Further down along the road, in that space, closer to the opposite house, to Mr. Brimpong's house, a scuffle broke. I had my back to the armed men. I was trying to talk to the crowd to hold their line, because that was the agreement. I should talk to the crowd to hold their line. Double will get his men to move back. On the extreme flank, a fight broke out. And the next thing I heard were the shots, the first shots that were fired. My lord, in all honesty, I cannot say that those shots were fired into the crowd. In all honesty. But I heard the shots. Once I heard the shots, my first instinct was to turn around, because from behind me. I heard them from behind me. I turned around and asked Double, what's going on? Then I saw more of the men pull out their sidearms. And then he was carrying his AK. And then I said to him, stop it, stop it. Whilst trying to engage him, then I saw 1 or 2 of the men on the other side begin to point. As the gunshots happened, the first instinct of most of the people in the crowd also was to take flight. Then the shooting started. This was, my location at the time was very close to the gate and by the red pickup. So I quickly went behind the red pickup and stood there, my Lord. This is how I recall the issues.
If I heard you right, in simple terms, you did not see the first shooting. You only heard the sound of it because your back was to the scene. Am I right?
Yes, my Lord, I heard the shooting from behind me.
Very well. Now, in the video, we see a number of gentlemen converged in front of the house. Are you able to tell the commission, that is if you know, who these men are?
Unfortunately, my Lord, I do not know who they were.
Also, I take you to the gentleman in white vest who was lying, according to you, motionless, even though I saw him moving his head in the video. As at that time, when you made your first post, had you ascertained where he lived?
No, my Lord. My Lord, if you recall, I told the commission I made the post whilst I was hiding in the building and hearing some of the men call out my name and carry out a search of the building for me. At that time, I had heard several shots also being fired down there. My Lord, I was in no position to ascertain further information apart from what I had witnessed few minutes prior to the assault on me.
Very well. Now I'll take you to the video in which you were assaulted. It starts with you coming through and saying, this is so wrong, this is so wrong. You kill a man in his own house and all that. As at that time, had you ascertained where the man lived?
My Lord, I have stated clearly to you that that sequence was barely 5 minutes after the assault on the man. We had stumbled upon him in that house. I assumed at the point in time that that was his house. Same way I assumed, based on the assault that I had seen carried out on him and his motionless body, that he was deceased. I had no way, there was no reasonable way for me to have carried out further verification in the space of time and in the sequence of events. It would not be reasonable for me to have been able. It would be unreal, except I want to create something. But speaking to the facts and truth as I know them, I didn't have the benefit of hindsight.
When you first stumbled upon him in a house, where was Mami Efua?
She was not in the building. I didn't see her there. I met the man in the house. I was working with Double. I met him emerge from the build, and that's why I've stated it's an uncompleted, semi-completed building. We actually jumped the wall. It's got a wall as high as this table. So from the school to go to Mr. Brimpong's house, you actually jump that wall into that house before you proceed. When I walked in, and don't forget I told the commission yesterday that I was at the rear of the retreating men with Double. The men were ahead of us. I encountered them engaging him, asking him to go inside. Go inside. And then he engaged them, and that was when he was hit and he fell. So I assumed at the time he owned the house, or that was his house, because he was being asked to go inside. That was his house. I saw the assault on him. I saw the bleeding. I saw him motionless at the time. As I exited with Double, I encountered Mami Efua running in. She jumped that thing and she was shouting, "Hey, Wonkune, Wonkune." Yeah, that is how I recall it.
Did you subsequently find out that that was not the man's house?
My Lord, this morning I've told the commission when I showed the video that I found out that the man is actually alive, thanks be to God. I've also found out his name, that he's called Harvey. I've also found out that he's a cousin to Mami Efua Sechiedu, and that he is not resident in that building. But all of this are with the benefit of hindsight and not having men assault me.
At what point, for instance, did you find out that the man did not live in that house and that he had not died?
My Lord, this was either later that day or the next day, when I got in touch with some members of the party and I was trying to find out how other members who had been assaulted or other members of the public who I had watched footage, I mean, I'd followed the media reportage and heard that some people had been seriously wounded, some people were in hospital, and somebody had his leg at risk of amputation and all. So I tried to find out what was happening with other people. And that was when I began to ask about the gentleman in white shirt and brown trousers that I had seen motionless. And then it came to my knowledge that he had actually been sent to hospital. He was not deceased, thankfully, and that he was recovering, and that he was actually related to Mamifwa.
Very well. There's this video in which you show a gentleman in white, sleeveless, what we normally call a singlet.
Yeah.
Now, the chairman asked you whether you knew who he was, and you said you did not. Am I right?
Yes, my lord.
Very well. So then you wouldn't be able to tell, if for instance I should tell you that we have had evidence before the commission that this gentleman passes himself as the leader of the Hawks.
My lord, I'm in no position to ascertain that.
Mr. Chairman, that will be all.
Honorable Son George, this gentleman who you said you assumed was dead on the floor, exactly where was he? Which building was he?
My lord, he was in the uncompleted building that acted as a thoroughfare between Mr. Brimpong's house and the school park where the polling station was, my lord.
Now, in your testimony yesterday, you said it came to your knowledge that some armed men were arresting Mamifwa, and also in another part of the testimony you said they were assaulting her. Can you clarify whether Mamifwa was arrested or assaulted?
My lord, what I saw when I got down was the men saying that they wanted her phone. She had put her phone in her car. In fact, one or two of the men at the time I got there had entered into her car and were trying to retrieve the phone. One was restraining her. One had her hand in a lock with his hand and was restraining her. And there was that pushing and shoving of her. Before I approached DSP Azugu what it was, they said she had taken a picture, so we are arresting her. That is what was said by one of the men who was carrying out that operation.
Was there a bipartisan investigative
I'd like you to have a look at these two pictures. Do you recognize the person who is described as being the alleged leader of the Hawks?
My Lord, I know this image from social media. I have seen pictures of him, but I do not know him in person, such that I could tell you this is his name or this is who he is. I have seen his image. Some of these images are well circulated on social media.
You have seen his image as who?
I have seen him in pictures, political pictures, but I do not know who he is. The way if someone showed me, respectfully, my Lord, your picture, I could say, oh, this is Justice Emil Short. I am in no position to say this is who he is, but I do know the face. Yes, my Lord.
Was he at the scene of the incident on the 31st of January?
My Lord, I do not remember encountering him at the incident at any stage and point in time. Because like I've stated before the commission, my engagement was mostly with the NSC wearing units at the entrance, with the election officers, and then at Mr. Brimpong's house, mostly with Double and some of the members of the crowd. But I don't remember engaging this gentleman at any point in time, my Lord.
All right, let's have the pictures back. Do you know any members of the Hawks?
My Lord, when you ask me, do I know any members of the Hawk personally, or can I make them out? I would like to be clear what exactly you're asking me.
Have you seen any members alleged to be members of the Hawk?
My Lord, certainly there have been several pictures of men wearing T-shirts with the Hawks on them. So yes, I have seen pictures of people wearing T-shirts that have the Hawks on them.
Did you see them at the near Mr. Delali's house on the 31st of January? Did you see any of them on that day?
My Lord, as far as my memory serves me, I did not see anybody wearing a T-shirt with the Hawks.
Not wearing a T-shirt with the inscription, the Hawks, but somebody who you may have seen before as being a member of the Hawks. Did you see anybody like that?
Unfortunately, my Lord, no. I don't remember seeing any of them.
What about, did you see any member of the Azoka boys
My Lord,
at the
unlike
house on the 31st of January?
my Lord, unlike the Hawks who you would say have had a lot of pictures of them with the T-shirts that make it easy for you to say, this person, I have seen him wearing a Hawks T-shirt. I haven't seen pictures that identify people as Azoka boys. So it will be impossible for me to state here as a fact that some of the people I saw there were Azoka boys or not, because I have not previously seen any picture identifying them as Azoka boys, my Lord.
Okay. At some point in your testimony, you said that while you were chatting with this gentleman you called Dogo or Double, a scuffle broke out between some of the crowd and the armed men, right?
Yes, my Lord.
And the next thing you heard was shots being fired. And you said that these armed men pulled their weapons and fired in the direction of the crowd. Can you explain what you mean by in the direction of the crowd?
My Lord, just this morning when counsel for the commission asked me a few questions, I tried to illustrate for the commission using the open space here, the positioning of what I encountered. With Mr. Thing's room for illustration, with Mr. Brimpong's house behind me, and the space between my table and counsel's table being the street where the scuffle or the incident occurred, I was standing in between both crowds, let me call it that. Standing in between both crowds. Scuffle broke out on one end of the road whilst I was on the other end. I heard the shots. And as soon as I heard the shots, everybody started running. I ran in this direction.
Honorable Sam Judge, please listen to my question and try and answer the question. I am referring to the words you used in your testimony.
Yes, my lord.
You said the shots were fired in the direction of the crowd. And I would like you to tell me exactly what you meant by in the direction of the crowd.
My lord, in the direction of crowd, that's what I was trying to draw the scenario for you. It was shot from the position of the NSC men towards where the crowd hitherto had been standing. It was a dispersing crowd. That's why I made the point, my lord, that when the first shots were fired, everybody started running. I took cover against the wall, and I saw the men point in the direction. If I use this room, it will be in the leftwards direction, towards where the previous crowd, or where the crowd had been standing, where the scuffles were. And from the video I showed, you would see the positioning of the crowd. It was in that direction. I run, they run.
Okay, how many shots were fired in the direction of the crowd?
My lord, it would be impossible for me to give you a certain number, but I recollect that between 45 to 60 seconds of shooting. And if my memory serves me right, I had well over 30 shots, my lord. Well over 30 shots.
And at that moment, did you see anybody hit?
My lord, I did not. I was hiding and worried for my life. I was in no position to tell if anybody had been hit or not by the bullet.
Was that the same incident in which you said double fired, but his gun did not fire, and then he reloaded and then fired again?
Yes, my lord.
Was that the same incident?
Yes, my lord.
Okay. Yesterday, you also stated that you had about 40 shots fired. Where were these shots fired? At what stage did you hear 40 shots fired?
My lord, yesterday, if I recollect, I said I had about 40 shots when I was asked. Yes. And this was the shooting at Mr. Brimpong's house.
Was this the same incident you were referring to?
Yes, my lord.
Okay. Now, the second person who assaulted you, you say you don't know his name?
My lord, unfortunately, I wasn't able to get a clear look at him, because if you watch the video, he approached from my side and hit me, and he appeared to be wearing either a helmet or a mask. It was so quick, I couldn't make his face out like I did with the first person. But so I have not been, and the videos that I've seen have not enabled me to get a look at his face. So I am unfortunately unable to identify him. But I believe that the leaders of the operation who put the men on the field should be able to identify their man if they want to.
Now, you also testify that one of the men you met there identified you and stated that, look, Honorable, they are shooting at us.
Yes, my lord. This was after the entire incident. After I had hidden in the building, and when I went back to Mr. Brimpong's house the second time, where I went to wash off the blood from my hand. It was at that point that one of the men said to me, "Honorable, look, they were shooting at us." And I said, "Yes, I was here."
Who spoke to you?
My Lord, I do not know who he was.
It's not somebody that you knew before, or you could
He wasn't
identify.
he's not somebody I was familiar with. If I see his face, I may make him out, but he's not somebody I was familiar with prior to the incident.
Now, at one stage, you also testify that whilst you were running for your life, you heard shots being fired.
Yes, my Lord.
And you arrived at the conclusion that these shots were being fired at you.
Yes, my Lord.
When did this incident happen? At what stage? In the sequence of events.
My Lord, after my visits to my following double to his vehicle, and the video the council has shown to me where I said, "This is so wrong," after the assault on me, and I showed you the UTV video where you see me take to my heels. It was whilst I took to my heels that I had the shots.
And how many shots were being fired at you, to use your words?
My Lord, I had about 4 shots at the time. About 4 shots at the time. Even though, once again, it was whilst I was running for my dear life.
And you said you were running in a zigzag fashion, not in a straight line.
I didn't say that, my Lord. I said I chose not to run in a straight line. I took a detour and went into the building. I didn't say I was running in a zigzag fashion. I've also noticed that reportage in the media.
That was my description. Okay, you decided you would not run in a straight line, but
Yes, my Lord.
you took a turn to which building?
My Lord, if you see the layout of the school park and where the assault happened, even in the video, you would realize that with my back, with me facing the team that assaulted me, the school building was on my left. The route back to Mr. Brimpong's house through the uncompleted building was directly behind me. And so most of the people started running, like in the video you saw, all over the place. With the crowd approaching me, I decided not to go in that direction. Because I may not have been able to run as fast as was required to get me away from the team that was chasing me. That building was closer to me than Mr. Brimpong's building. And so I made what would be almost a 90-degree turn into that building, my Lord.
Now, you also say that some of the members of the SWAT team were members of the invisible forces, right?
My Lord, I gave an example yesterday of one person.
You identified one person
Yes, my Lord.
who you said you knew before.
Yes, I said we had seen pictures of him with national executives of the New Patriotic Party providing security to them. There's actually even a picture which I can make available to the commission of him with then running mate Dr. Bawumia providing security at NPP events. This was prior to 2017, my Lord.
So on the basis of this person who you knew before, as a member of the invisible team, you stated that some members of the armed men were members of the invisible forces.
That's right, my Lord.
Do you still stand by that statement?
My Lord, in fact, my position has been strengthened by an interview post the Yawaso West Wagon event that I made available to the commission yesterday, of an interview between the leader of the Delta forces, one Mr. Salawuddin, and Captain Smart of Adum FM, where he actually names names of members of the Delta forces who have been recruited into the National Security Service now. He actually goes ahead to mention financiers of the Delta forces. He goes ahead to even give instances of the Delta forces operations for then candidate Akufo-Addo and protecting him in what you remember was an attack that happened at the Nima residence. So my position that yes, you have members of this vigilante groups, as they are called now, in our national security services, has been confirmed and strengthened by the self-testimony of Mr. Salawuddin, who introduced himself as the leader of the Delta forces. I've made that available to the commission.
But let's stick to your Facebook post. Can you read it for me? Can you read your Facebook post?
I have just been assaulted by several members of the NPP Invisible Forces, attired in National Security Council shirts and vests. They fired several rounds of ammunition at me simply because I was doing my legal job of monitoring the Ayawaso West Wagon by-election. President Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, I am grateful to you.
What is the date of this post?
I did it, my lord, sometime, if my memory serves me right, at around 8:25 on the 31st of January.
The same day.
My lord, this was whilst I was just after I'd been assaulted.
Yeah. But as at that time, you only had knowledge of a single member of the Invisible Forces. You only knew one member of the Invisible Forces who you saw at the scene of the shooting. And you based that statement on, because you had seen one member of the Invisible Forces among the SWAT team.
My lord, let me make a point to the commission. I have worked in government before in the office of the president. I've engaged members of national security several times, and I have utmost respect for our men in the security services. They're some of the finest officers you will find. I saw the operations of this team, and if those men are the men of our security services today, it's a taint on the long-standing good name of our security services. Once I was able to identify in the heat of the moment one, which I believe was reasonable grounds enough for me to draw the conclusion that, in the words of Professor Mensah-Bonsu yesterday, the actions of some of those men didn't appear intelligent. It didn't look to me that those were trained national security operatives. And once I had identified one, at least one, who was a member of the various forces, it formed reasonable grounds for me to conclude that he would not be alone, given the actions that I had seen. Because, my lord, men of the Ghana Police Service will not kick about unarmed Ghanaian civilians. The former IGP is here. His men don't do that.
Now, you also stated yesterday that someone in the crowd gave you some shell casings. How many did you say there were?
My lord, yesterday I presented shell casings. I think there were 28 in all, and then a life round that had not been spent, so 29 in all. I said that this was what I had asked the men when I got back to Mr. Brempong's house, and I had been approached by one person saying, "See, they shot bullets at us." I said, "I was here, I saw it." And I saw the blood splatter. I said to them, "Pick the shell casings, and then let's have them, and then make sure that nobody steps in the blood or nothing covers the blood. In case the police comes, we'll show it to them." So yes, I asked the men around to pick what they could find and bring them to me.
Who gave you these shell casings?
My Lord, I do not know his name. He was one of the young men who were in the vicinity, and they were trying. And this was all within the space of about a minute or two, my Lord.
Now, you gave your statement to the police when?
My Lord, I received the call on the Tuesday after the incident. So that would be the 2nd of February. If, my Lord, if you just allow me check my calendar. I was in Parliament on Tuesday when I got the call from Superintendent Affle. So the Tuesday after 31st. Okay, the Tuesday after the 31st, my Lord, would be the 5th of February. The Tuesday after the 31st would be the 5th of February. And that was the day I was invited by the police CID to aid their investigation that the IGP had started based on the complaint from the national chairman, national executives of the NDC. I was given the form, the statement form that day, and I think I was told to take it and work on it with my lawyers, and they sent someone to pick it up on Friday of that week, which will be the 8th of February, my Lord.
So you took the form away and then you filled it and brought it back.
I was given the option of taking the form, and they sent an officer to pick it up.
Is this the statement that you gave to the police?
Yes, my Lord.
It wasn't dated.
My Lord,
you didn't date it.
My Lord, they gave me the forms to write my statement, which I did. And then the lawyer said the top part was supposed to be done by the police themselves. And so we left it blank and handed it over to an officer that Superintendent Affle sent to Parliament House to pick up the statement. Because I was told that the parts about date, age, those things will be filled in by the police. I think, excuse me, let me just say, I think all I did was to, yes, so I just put in my name, my address, my occupation, where I come from, the age. But then when it came to the date and the station, I left it because this form, and my Lord, I see that it has Legon Station on it. This form was given to me by Superintendent Affle in the presence of the Deputy Director General of the Ghana Police CID. That day, I went there with my colleagues from Parliament, and there was a legal team that day that was led by the Honorable Inusa Fuseni. The forms were not given to me by Legon Police. They were given to me by the National CID. The Deputy Director General of CID, I do not really remember his name, but I know he introduced himself to us as a chief of a town around Dinsha or Boase, and we actually joked about it. So the entire engagement, we referred to him as Nana. I think he's a DCOP or so. I can't remember. But
is he called Affle?
No, Superintendent Affle is the one who called me. Because, yes, thank you very much. He's also George like me, ACP George Nana Chuneboa. That day when we got there, when we arrived, 67, almost 70 MPs, Superintendent Affle decided his office was too small, and so we should use the conference room, I think, on the 2nd floor of the CID building. And then he indicated that the Director General of CID herself would have loved to sit through, but she was not available at the time, and she had asked her deputy to join and sit through. So he sat through with a number of other top commanders. I think the Director of Operations or so of the CID, who happened to be a classmate of Honorable Nilante, who was present, was also in there. So they gave me this form, not Legon Police.
Mr. Chairman, if it pleases you, I would want to have a chat with my client, a brief one.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. I'm done.
So you didn't have any discussion with these people, but they just gave you the form and you took it away.
Yes, my lord.
Did you state in your statement that someone had given you shell casings on the day of the incident, on the day of the shooting? You can refresh your memory, man.
My lord, in my statement, that is not in there.
Didn't you think it was important to state in your statement that you had been given shell casings?
My lord, if you read my statement, you'd realize that from the point where, and that's I think in the last 3 lines of my statement, where I narrated what transpired after I exited the building, I didn't give a lot of detail in there. I just stated that from the building, I went to Mr. Brimpong's house, from where I proceeded for private medical care.
I'm sure you are aware that these shell casings are critical evidence in the investigation of what took place on the day in question.
Yes, my lord.
And you never at any time consider it prudent to hand over these shell casings to the police, or to even put it in your statement?
My lord, the issue of the shell casings was even mentioned on the day in the press conference that was called by my national chairman and national executives. So the fact about shell casings from the scene was already public knowledge, my lord.
No, you haven't answered my question. I said, did you not consider it prudent either to state in your statement that someone had given you shell casings on the very day that the shooting took place?
My lord, yesterday I stated before this commission how my trust in the Ghana Police Service had been shaken by them standing aloof when I was being assaulted. Even though they were armed policemen who could have intervened, they didn't. I have exhibited my trust in this commission by bringing such critical evidence before this commission, because I believe it would help the work of this commission.
So your distrust or mistrust of the police stems from the fact that they did not intervene when you were being assaulted?
My lord, that coupled with the fact that even when I went to lodge a formal complaint, they refused to take my statement.
You said you met a lady who told you you should leave your telephone number and they would call you.
Yes, my lord.
Yeah. So they did not refuse to take your statement?
My lord, I came there as a victim of an assault. And I went to the police to give a statement. The police declined to take my statement at the time that I went there. They indicated that they would get in touch subsequently, which they failed to do. Up till now, I have not received a call from the Legon police station, my lord. It's over a month.
Did you not say that yesterday that you got a call 2 days later after you went to the police station for the first time?
Oh, my lord,
No.
let's not confuse the issues. My lord, respectfully, I stated that I received a call from Superintendent Affle,
Yes.
who said he was investigating a different case I went to lodge my personal case at Legon Police Station, they refused to take my statement. On the day of the incident, the national executives, led by the national chairman of the NDC, went and lodged a complaint with the IGP. The IGP commissioned a separate investigation. It is to aid that investigation that Superintendent Afful of National CID, because the IGP's case had been handed over to the National CID to investigate. This statement I gave was to aid that investigation. My case, which I went to lodge as a citizen who had been assaulted, up till now, a statement has not been taken, my lord.
Now, Honorable Sam George, you said you were assaulted twice, right?
My lord, at least 2 people hit me in the video that this commission has shown.
2 different officers hit you.
Yes, my lord.
Can you tell us the nature of the injuries you suffered?
My lord, I had lacerations on my left hand. I had a swelling on my neck, and just a little above my shoulder also, there were swellings there.
Do you have a medical certificate that shows the injuries that you sustained?
My lord, I can get that from the private medical practitioner who I went to. I went to see a private medical practitioner. I made that point. It's stated in my police statement yesterday before this commission. I also stated that when I left Shashi, I went to see a private medical practitioner.
And when you found out that you were coming to give evidence before us, didn't you consider it prudent to get the medical certificate so that you would tender it before us?
My lord, I didn't consider it my place to second guess what the commission will require of me. I will respectfully get in touch with a private medical practitioner now that the commission requires it to make that available to you.
And the police never gave you a medical form?
My lord, I was given a medical form, but at that time, I had already seen a private medical practitioner.
So what did you do with the medical form?
It's still in my custody, my lord. That was supposed to be taken to a government hospital. I indicated to the police that I had seen a private medical practitioner already.
Thank you very much, Honorable. I was hoping that your video would settle the sequence of events, but it doesn't appear to be so. So it's still a bit confusing to me how things happened. And so I'm going to ask you a few questions to clarify. You said when you saw that this group, let me call it group, national security group, was going to some area behind the polling station, you followed them there?
Yes, my lord. After I had asked DSP Azugu for some clarity on what was going, and he declined to give that information.
You decided to go in yourself and check?
Yes, my lord.
You had gone to do election monitoring?
Yes, my lord.
And you decided this would be related to the election?
My lord, it was within the vicinity of the polling station, so I wanted to find out what it was and how that would have an impact on a polling station.
So you got there and met this person you called Double?
Sorry, my lord. If you could take the question again.
You went there and saw this person you called Double?
Yes, my lord.
And you said somebody has seized the key?
My Lord, that was one of the complaints I heard from the crowd when I tried in my attempt to douse the tension that was there. They said a key had been seized by one of the NSC group members.
Did they say what key?
No, my Lord. They just said a key.
Mr. George, you went to a premises. You saw a large crowd. You didn't know why they were there. You didn't know who they were. And you saw that a few minor scuffles were taking place, you said.
Yes, my Lord.
And then you intervened.
I tried to de-escalate, yes, my Lord, because I noticed that many of the members in the crowd were at the residence of my party's candidate.
Oh, so you knew that was the house of the party candidate?
When I arrived there, I found out because he has a big billboard. At the time, there was a big billboard in there, in front of the house, that had his image there in the house, and you could see people some with party paraphernalia. There were party markings, his posters all over on the place, and so I assumed that was the place.
So when you saw those things, you determined that they were related to the election, so you stayed?
Absolutely, my Lord.
Okay. Then you said you heard warning shots. If I got the sequence wrong, correct me, because I was right. You said, then I heard warning shots. And you said the masked people used their sidearms.
Yes, my Lord.
So what made you know that they were warning shots?
My Lord, I heard shots being fired when the scuffle broke out between the members of the crowd and the security team. When I heard the shots, I will struggle to explain this, but it's sound. I heard sound behind me. I heard the shots. I know what gunshots sound like. I heard the gunshots. I heard them behind me. And my assumption, I mean, these were split-second decisions, was that this was being fired right behind me. I turned around, and there was the guy with his hand this way.
So you saw who fired?
My Lord, I will not be, he was wearing a mask. I will not be able to identify who he was, but it was one of the officers in that crowd wearing the NSC. When I turned around, I mean, the gunshots, it was not one. So once the first shot rang out, my first instinct was to do this, turn around. And there the hand was in the air. I can't tell you that it is this man or that man. That I would be conjecturing, because he was wearing a mask.
Okay. You said you had interposed yourself between the crowd and the national security people.
Effectively so, my Lord, because if you watched even the video I showed you, it's not as though there was a lot of room between. They were basically pushing against each other. And so in my engagement, I had pulled aside with double and was engaging him, but I was right in the mix.
So the crowd was fighting off the national security people?
I would not use the word fighting off, my Lord. The national security team was trying to get the crowd into the building it appeared to me to be. They were trying to push them back. It appeared to me to be. That was what I encountered there.
And the crowd was resisting?
Yes, my Lord. There was a
described
resistance.
Minor scuffles?
Yes, there was a resistance. Yes, my Lord.
So the number of people were fighting?
I mean, with the pushing and shoving, you see somebody throw their hand and then someone throws their hand again. That was ongoing, my Lord.
Is this the usual behavior of crowds in this country when they see armed and uniformed people?
My Lord, I'm no expert in crowd control. I have no opinion on that, respectfully.
They seem a very strange crowd to me, because most Ghanaians take to their heels when they see uniformed people, especially if they are armed. So it's a strange crowd to me that they were actually fighting off these people.
My Lord, like I've stated, I do not have expertise in crowd management. And again, I'm sure that if I saw a crowd of people dressed like the gentleman here in police uniform, it would send, that's a uniform I know, and there's a respect for that uniform. But I mean, to see people in balaclavas and masks and
TV. bagi adwumedie yi. Nyumeku a aso yasene eye.
Deluxe acrylic paint with silver cover, better quality and durability.
Ope happy man bitters.
Happy men never grow.
The body care. A crow will need Pedriano to sahin for.
Wemrod is also available in pineapple flavored suspension.
Fire his gun, found it jammed and cleared it and reloaded it. And you said you were in that secret room watching through the window.
No, my lord. Here, I think I need to clarify the sequence for you.
Please.
The room where the footage was taken that appeared to be hiding, that was not at Mr. Brimpong's house. That was on the school park. And my lord, here, respectfully, if you would let me just build a sequence like I did yesterday again to clarify. The sequence of events involved the second car behind me.
No, you get to
Mr. Brimpong's house.
From
okay,
I got it.
You
down.
got that
That's
part.
why this morning you said you were in that place. That's how you saw.
That is when the assault on me had started and I took to my heels. That was my first hiding place. This was before. This was after the shooting.
Double's gun jammed again.
Oh no, madam, I have not stated.
I didn't.
No, I have not stated that on the park double fired. I have only stated that I saw double firing at Mr. Brimpong's house, not on the school park where the assault on me happened. The firing happened at least 5 to 10 clear minutes before the assault on me.
Okay.
So the issue of me seeing double try to fire his gun and it jamming and him clearing the chamber and then reloading and firing was at Mr. Brimpong's house, my lord.
Okay. Is this where you had been told a key had been seized?
Yes, my lord.
Who told you a key had been seized?
Somebody in the crowd.
And you offered to go and retrieve the key.
And I asked double when we were trying to get things to calm down. And my lord, I've stated here that I will be very true to the facts. He engaged with me.
I'm trying to imagine.
Sure. He engaged with me to try to de-escalate the situation there. The gentleman called double. I said to him, if you don't want the crowd agitated, it appears most of the scuffles that were breaking out were over a key. Can I get the key so that I tell them to hold their line? Because that appeared to be the real issue that kept leading to scuffles breaking out between members of the crowd, that one of his men had a key. Then he said to me, in the heat of that place, he couldn't determine who had the keys. So I should let the crowd hold on, and they should allow me, because I had been made out by both the crowd and himself as a member of parliament. They would allow, the crowd should allow me walk with his team. Then he will retrieve the key from whoever had seized the key for me to bring back to the crowd. That was the agreement, my lord.
But you don't know whose key it was. You don't know what key it was. None of that was interesting to you except getting the key.
Because that, my lord, was the cause of agitation. That was the root cause of the agitation.
And you didn't ask what key it was, whose key it was?
My lord, the heat of the moment would not have allowed that interrogation. I thought we could even get the key in this. If there was one of the people there who had the key, he will hand it over, and then that would have calmed the various agitation that was going on. When I engaged double, he offered a solution. Let's pull out of this heated situation. I will find the key for you, and you bring it back to them. My lord, that for me looked to have been a workable solution that would have taken care of the heat of the moment.
Whatever you think of this group with NSC, and they looked official enough, right?
Well, you could say so, my lord.
And they were obviously there on an official assignment. Whatever you think of the source, they were obviously there on an official assignment.
Absolutely, my lord. Once you saw national security.
They had been confronted by a motley crowd.
Well, I did not witness the beginning of the engagement. And my video I showed today shows is testament to that the confrontation had commenced
Yes.
before I arrived.
I saw pushing and shoving
Yes.
from the people who appear to be in white and the people who are in black, or at least that's as much as I can see from here. So these persons in official uniform were on an official assignment, and they were being obstructed or defied or whatever by a motley crowd. So you got there as a member of parliament, and you asked, what's the problem? And they said, it's a key. They've taken our key. You didn't ask, whose key? What key? And you tried to get the people on official assignment to move away so the excited crowd would calm down.
With the benefit of hindsight, the narrative you gave will fit perfectly.
Okay.
But with the reality of what I met, the first thought in my head was to ensure that what transpired, which led to the shooting, did not happen.
Was it because you didn't believe the people were on official duty?
My lord, well, for me, I did not have a judgment to call to make at that time. My judgment call at that time was to try to diffuse the situation.
Because you're a member of parliament.
Yes, my lord.
If an official group has come on an official assignment and they are meeting resistance, is the posture you adopted the best posture?
My lord, let's not forget that I met this team about to drive out of the location. And then subsequent events led to them at this location. I had no way of telling that they had an official assignment at the residence of the candidate. Again, as a member of parliament for the NDC, it would be strange for me that there will be an official assignment at the residence of the NDC candidate on the day of an election he was involved in.
So you did not believe they were on official assignment. That's why you adopted the posture you did.
Absolutely, my lord. I had reservations about that operation.
All right. So you went with Double. You followed him to the car to collect this strange key and bring it back. To who? Who are you going to return the key to?
My lord, if I had gotten the keys, I would have returned to the house and said to the crowd there, this is the key. Whoever owned the key would have come up for it.
Did it occur to you that he was just taking you out of a situation that posed physical danger to a member of parliament?
My lord, the agreement between myself and Double before the shooting was not to take me away from the place. It was to take his team away from the place.
I'm saying they were on official assignment. A member of parliament had showed up, had interposed himself between them and the crowd where they were supposed to execute the assignment. Do you think that asking you to follow him to take the key could have been a way of protecting you from the danger you had unwittingly placed yourself in?
My lord, I think that Double and his team put me in even greater danger when they decided to fire live rounds around the member of parliament. Because at the time he asked me to do that, there was limit. Yes, I agree there was some danger that there was a crowd, a motley crowd there, but nobody was firing live rounds around me at the time. His team fired live rounds around me. So if his preoccupation was protecting me, it's interesting to see how he protected me with live rounds around me, being shot around me.
I would never approve of live rounds being used where there are crowds. But I'm just trying to let you see the other side of the picture. Could it be that you had unwittingly walked into a situation which posed a danger to you, and he was trying to get you out by saying, you follow me, come and take the key, and then you followed him?
My lord, that's a plausible scenario.
Okay. And then you got to the car and he said, I don't have any key for you.
Well, my lord, the intervening factor that is missing in this narrative is the fact that between the time he said, come with me to the car for the keys, and me getting to the car for the keys, there had been the shooting.
Okay, so they fired warning shots, you said.
There was the first warning shot that got me to hide. And then there was the sequence of almost 40 shots or over 30 shots that I had, close to 40 shots that I had. All of that was by Double and his team. All of that, I was present.
So the warning, the shot, the gun went off. You ran to this room.
No, my lord.
Where did you hide?
Against the wall, by the red car in the vehicle that I showed, my lord.
You hid behind the car.
The car is parked right next to the wall, and I stood and, my lord, there's no wall here.
It's okay. You showed us the.
Yes. So the car is there, and then there's a curve in the wall, some kind of opening in the wall. So it was against that wall that I lay. I basically put myself against the wall whilst the gunshots were. The team was standing by the roadside. So I basically put myself against the wall.
You didn't duck?
No, my lord, I don't remember ducking. All I knew was I stood against the wall.
Perhaps you didn't know enough about controlling these situations. That's why they wanted to get you out.
My lord, I'm an engineer.
Stick to engineering. But you then asked this Double guy to let his men leave. But if he was on official assignment, he wasn't going to listen to you.
Well, my lord, this was even before the shooting. When I asked for them to leave, it was before the shooting. And we had reached some level of agreement that I should let the team the crowd hold their ground. And if the problem was the key, when I got back with him and his team had pulled out, they would hand the key over to me. So, yes.
Did you ask them what key had been seized from the crowd?
My lord, when I asked Double himself, he did not know. He indicated to me he did not know which key it was, but that he would find out from his men. And I say this because I just want to tell the truth. In all fairness to him, what he said to me is what I recount. He himself did not know about the key, but he said to me that he will find the key for me when he and his men retreated. But the bottom line was I should keep the crowd, let the crowd stand their ground. They shouldn't surge at them, and they would pull out. And that was what I tried to do before the shooting happened.
But you don't know what assignment they were on, so you're instructing that they should pull away was interfering.
Well, my lord, I was trying to diffuse the situation, and he agreed with me. He agreed that there will be a pullout. So I would not see how I interfered with his operation, because as the leader on the team, on the ground that I noticed, he agreed with me that if the crowd could hold their ground and he pulled out, whatever was the sticking point with that key could have been given. He didn't indicate at any point in time to me that they were on an operation and needed to proceed. He never did indicate that to me.
In your testimony yesterday, you said you heard your name mentioned twice. This was when you got to the car and he said he had no key for you.
Yes, my lord, and I was returning.
You began to shout, "This is so wrong."
Yes, my lord.
But you had gone to douse fires that were raging. Do you think your posture was a little too aggressive?
My lord, I had gone to douse fires, and post that, I had seen what I, at the time, believed to be an extrajudicial killing, my lord.
So you walked past and saw this guy lying motionless.
I saw the attack on him, my lord.
And you saw him lying motionless.
Yes, my lord.
You didn't stop to give him help or ask that somebody should take him to the hospital?
My lord, yesterday in my testimony, I told the commission that I kept screaming to Double to stop his men. And that is where he asked me if I knew what a stray bullet was. My lord, a stray bullet.
No, I am concerned about this person lying on the ground bleeding.
Yes, my lord.
You walking past to go and take a key you didn't really know about.
My lord, maybe you're not getting the picture I'm painting, my lord.
I'm trying.
Let me repaint it for you, my lord. I see an unarmed Ghanaian citizen attacked and killed, by my estimation at the time, whilst the attack was ongoing,
appeared to
have been killed. Thank you, my Lord. Whilst that attack was ongoing, I tried to stop the attack by appealing to the conscience of the leader of the team. I was asked a direct question if I knew what a stray bullet was. My Lord, at that point in time, me intervening physically or myself would have been me signing my death warrant. I saw them appear to kill.
Do you think it was kind to this person who was lying down, obviously needed help?
My Lord, I thought about my wife and children and my old parents. I also have a family.
And you are still following for the key?
My Lord, my instructions were to follow. So if you even watch the video the commission showed to me yesterday, when Double turned left, I turned left. When he turned right, I turned right. I was an obedient servant of an armed man.
You said you then started shouting, this is so wrong. This is so, you cannot kill a man in his own house.
Yes, my Lord.
You didn't know who it was, but you thought he had been killed and that it was in his own house.
He appeared to me, my Lord.
Okay. And then you heard your name mentioned twice.
My Lord, I believe the entire commission heard it on the commission's video that was played to me. My name was mentioned twice.
And then no, I'm tracing with you what I got down.
Very well, my Lord.
And you said, the person said, you think you are so strong. You will see what we shall do to you.
Yes, my Lord, that's what I heard.
But in your statement that we looked at, you have identified it as your statement.
Yes, my Lord.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Because I read something else. Can you please ask him to read this side? This sentence. Yeah.
Whilst returning to my vehicle, one of the armed men, and my Lord, let me indicate that it appears that a portion of it is cut off.
I noticed that.
Yeah, but I think I remember what I wrote. I said, whilst returning to my vehicle, one of the armed men mentioned is not shown in this, but mentioned my name and threatened to cause harm to me because of my critique of President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. Okay. I inquired of them what they would do to me.
Thank you.
Yes, my Lord.
But you told us they said you will see what we will do to you, and then you asked, what will you do to me? Are you a police officer or a party officer?
Yes, my Lord.
At what point did they say, for your critique of the president, they were going to deal with you?
My Lord, if the commission will, we can play the video. You'd realize that two different people mentioned my name. There were two people who mentioned my name. It wasn't the same person. I have recounted to the commission what one person said to me. I've stated in my statement also what I also heard from the vehicle. It was an ongoing fluid conversation. And the person, what I recounted in my statement to the police was actually said to me in Twi. And so what I did was to try and do a literal translation in, because I cannot write the Twi. Unfortunately, I'm a Dangme boy. So what I heard him say to me, and unfortunately, the videos that I have seen do not capture all of that.
But Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo sounds the same in Twi and English.
No, madam, I'm coming there. What the person said to me in Twi was, please forgive my Twi.
Yeah, that's okay.
TV so na ukasa tia Omampenya Akufo-Addo. Ubehu nia yebeye o.
So why didn't you say so yesterday when you were giving your testimony?
My Lord, I spoke about the fact that I was told I will be dealt with yesterday. I tried not to bring and draw in politics and partisanship into my testimony yesterday.
But you said, are you a police officer or a party officer?
Yes, I did, my Lord, because that action for me didn't appear to be official police procedure.
Okay. And then the assault thing began?
On the basis of that, I turned around,
Yeah.
and you see that in the video, and asked
And
him,
you were walking towards somebody and gesticulating aggressively.
my Lord, someone who
That's
was...
what's on the
Yes,
video.
yes. I did, because, my Lord, I'd just been told that I will see what will happen to me. And so I turned around and asked, what will you do to me? Are you a police officer or a party officer? My Lord...
That was what the wild gestures were about.
My Lord, yes. When...
Honorable, do you think in the very confused situation that you are operating in, that aggressive body language was a good idea?
My Lord, I'm a very emotive person. And you notice that most times I hold the microphone with two hands because I do not want to show my emotions. I do a lot of gesticulating when I speak. Absolutely. And out of respect and deference for this commission, I've tried to restrict myself with gesticulation. So gesticulating is actually a part of me that most people who have followed me know.
You said you heard the people going from room to room mentioning your name.
My Lord, whilst I was in the building, that's after the assault, whilst I was up on the 3rd floor.
Oh, you were up on the 3rd floor?
Yes, my Lord. I made the point yesterday that
you did.
I left and went to the 3rd floor. Yes.
But where was the EC officer and the ballot box?
My Lord, at this point in time, it was to your tent, O Israel, each man for himself, God for us all.
So
I left.
In the beginning, you were with them?
Yes.
On the ground
floor.
And then you
And
left.
then
Okay.
I sought safer ground.
And then where were you standing when you heard them going from room to room mentioning your name?
My Lord, when I got to the 3rd floor, and there's a, when you climb the staircase, there's a room, when you get off the staircase, directly to your left in that building. It runs across. So we're on the ground floor. That's the same room we had entered. But on the 3rd floor that day, that door was locked. So I had gotten to the 3rd floor, and there was no open office. So basically what I did was I lay on the floor at the top of the stairwell, and I was looking through the stairwell and listening. And I could see about 4 or 5 of them mentioning my name. Nasam George, we are Bema Bra. And I saw them on the ground floor. I saw them on the 1st floor. I saw them on the 2nd floor, after which they descended, my Lord. Because I had nowhere else to go, maybe except to jump from the building.
So when did you make the Facebook post?
My Lord, whilst on the 3rd floor.
While you were hiding from them and they were coming up?
When I saw the movement, that's when I quickly did the post.
Do you think it was the best thing to do? You didn't call anybody from the party that I'm under attack and so on, and you made a Facebook post on the off chance that somebody would see it?
My Lord, the power of social media should never be underestimated.
That's what I'm trying to get you to see.
Yes. And so, my Lord, I recount just a few months ago, early this year, a young girl who was fleeing from Saudi Arabia, her abusive parents, who had barricaded herself in a hotel room in Thailand, got her life saved by the power of Twitter, a tweet. My Facebook account is linked to my Twitter account. When I put a post on Facebook, it goes to Twitter. I have over 60,000 followers on Facebook and Twitter combined. When I put out a post, at least I hope that a good number of Ghanaians would have seen it. Somebody who could stop what was going on.
And it turned out that your tweet was a misrepresentation.
My Lord, I do not deem it a misrepresentation. I believe that my tweet told what I knew at the time and genuinely believed at the time to be the truth.
But you subsequently discovered it was an error.
My Lord, the benefit of hindsight will make many people change many things. But at the time I made the post, it was the truth I believed and knew.
And I'm saying, when you discovered you had made an error, did you retweet
My Lord, an error about?
The fact that the person was, somebody had been killed, because major decisions were made based upon the information you put out.
My Lord, my Facebook post did not talk about anybody being killed. I don't remember my Facebook post saying someone was killed.
You said you had been shot at.
Yes, my Lord.
And you had something.
I said I had been assaulted and shot at. My Facebook post did not say that anybody had been killed. I don't recall that.
Now, I'm just trying to understand why people would be alarmed. They fired several rounds of ammunition at me.
Yes, my Lord, I had shots.
But you don't know if they were at you.
My Lord, at the time, there was no way I'll be able to establish that.
I understand that, but there was no reason then to assume that you were the target.
My Lord, there was every reason also for me to assume, given the fact that I was still being looked for, given the fact that I had been mentioned by name by people who were supposed to be operatives. They could make me out in the crowd and issue a threat to me. My Lord, that in itself formed enough basis for me to fear for my life at the time.
Then you discovered it was a mistake.
My Lord, I still do not discover the mistake.
You did not take steps to correct the information you had put out, admittedly in the heat of things.
My Lord,
you formed a certain impression. If it turned out that it was not correct, what stopped you correcting it so that the alarm that had been generated would be quietened?
My Lord, respectfully, the video the commission has shown and the videos I've shown show me being assaulted by men wearing national security vest.
Yes, but you
that is not a mistake.
You didn't say men in national security vest. You said invincible forces.
Yes, my Lord, and I've identified.
And you said you identified one.
Yes,
person you knew was or used to be in it.
My Lord, the facts of the case as they stand today, even with the benefit of hindsight, the gentleman who attacked me, Mohammed Sule, I would be.
No, let's talk about this person you tweeted was. You said invincible forces attired in National Security Council shirts.
Attacked me. I spoke about the attack on me, not any other person.
Yes, but national security people have been here and they have said they are our employees.
My Lord, has national security told this commission the prior occupation of some of the people they've employed? That's a question that I believe should interest the commission. And that's what I'm stating for the record.
Once damned, forever damned.
My Lord,
they could not change, they could not move on, they could not take different employment.
My Lord, I would not engage.
I don't know. I'm asking because the tweet sounded so alarming that somebody took alarm. Major decisions were made based upon some of the information coming out, and you were present. So people set a lot of store by what you said you had observed. And that's why I'm asking. Because if you knew them, then I would understand. But if you knew one person who used to be in some other situation and then had now transitioned into a national security job, why did you think that the people he was leading were part of his invincible forces?
My Lord, I would be interested to know what reformation process can move someone who is part of in December or November of 2016 into being so reformed enough that in 2017 they could be recruited into not just any security services, but our National Security Council. That should alarm you, my Lord. That picking people who less than a year prior were members of a vigilante group, and in less than a year, they're so reformed and they are the best candidates for recruitment into our National Security Service. My Lord, as a member of parliament, it leaves me worried.
So you identified one person?
My Lord, it's come to my knowledge even that the gentleman who assaulted me has had prior police issues, the Mohammed Sule gentleman. And so, but this is somebody, again, who buttresses the fact is in the employ of our National Security Service. I believe this commission should be interested in finding out what background searches have been done, and not just up to 2016. Let's go back as far back as 92.
This unit that you met there, is it a new unit? Or you've always known about National Security Council people, this unit?
My Lord, even though my schedule in the office of the president, when I worked in the office of the president, did not entail me engaging national security, I know that the administration I served under President John Dramani Mahama respected the Security and Intelligence Agencies Act, which insists that the National Security Council does not hold a standing army. It only coordinates.
So this group starts from 2017?
I'm in no position to state that in certainty, my Lord.
Okay. It's not a new group, or it's a new group?
My Lord, I've stated that I don't have the capacity. I've never worked at national security to be able to ascertain whether it's a new group or not. But my knowledge is that under President Mahama, whom I served in the Flagstaff House, we respected the Security and Intelligence Agencies Act, which mandates that national security cannot have a standing army, but can only coordinate men and women of our various security arms and services.
So if somebody told you that there was a unit like that at the time you described, what would your reaction be?
My Lord, I would challenge that assertion, because I know that under the previous administration of President Mahama, national security coordinated men and women from various units of our armed services. They did not have, I'm not aware that they had their own standing army with their own standing armory. That I'm not aware of. Like I said, that was above my pay grade. So I'm in no position to confirm or deny, my Lord.
Okay. Since you don't know about them, I can't go on for much longer. Are you given to jumping to conclusions?
My Lord, that would also be jumping to conclusions about me, won't it?
No, I'm asking you.
I'm someone who forms opinions based on the facts presented to me, and I stick to them.
Even when you discover you were wrong?
I've had instances where when evidence has been shown to me that contradicts my previous position, I have admitted.
Okay. So if you heard that Double was not a private entrepreneur, a private security entrepreneur like you thought, but is actually officially, properly vetted and recruited, you would, what would your reaction be?
My Lord, I haven't doubted Double's credentials as a staff of the National Security Council. In fact, when I gave testimony yesterday, I introduced his name as saying he is a national security operative I have encountered at the Kotoka International Airport VIP lounge. I stated that here yesterday. But then that does not negate what the past may have been.
Okay. So you still have nothing to correct in the alarming information that you put out?
My Lord, the fact that today he's in the employ of the National Security Council doesn't change the fact that he was previously a member of the Invisible Forces. Doesn't change that fact.
But you didn't say previously in the Invincible Forces. You said Invincible Forces attired in national security. That's what you said.
My Lord, respectfully, this would then venture me into the realm of semantics, which I do not want to go into. For me, the point I have held is that the gentleman I knew...
Surely, sir. Attired in National Security Council shirts, it's not semantics. Surely.
Yes, my Lord.
Do you know how frightened the rest of us were to hear this?
I can only imagine, but I still doubt it will be as much as I was frightened after I had been beaten, my Lord.
So it was fear that made you put out what you put out?
My Lord, you didn't leave what I lived through. And so I can understand if you don't appreciate in full what I went through.
I can only imagine, and I'm, suitably concerned about anybody having that experience. But you are dealing with social media and putting out information, some of which form the basis of very serious decisions. That is why I am a little surprised that when you found that it wasn't all that you thought, that you didn't seek to correct it.
My Lord, respectfully, I've told this commission that what I put out in my Facebook post is what I believed to be true at the time and what I still believe to be true. It's a conviction I hold. I have not seen credible evidence to contradict that, respectfully.
All right. In that case, yesterday you said some group was a community-based organization.
No, my Lord. I've seen that reportage also. I said, I was asked about a group called the Azoka Boys and asked if they were a vigilante group, my Lord. And I said that for me, I'm very careful about using the nomenclature vigilante group. And that the Azoka Boys, for example, and many of these groups are not affiliated to the political parties, but they patronage from individuals. So in the specific case of the Azoka Boys that Council mentioned, I said even their name shows who the patron is, Mr. Sofo Azoka. I stated that I have seen activity of theirs that was community-based, a community called Chogu in Tamale, where they had commissioned a borehole. So I stated
you were not invited to the commissioning of Invincible Forces borehole.
If I was invited, I would love to.
Because it was a little surprising that if we are going to be able to get a hand on these things, we have to call things by their name.
Respectfully, my Lord, and I'm grateful you raised this issue because it was an opinion. And I clarified that from Council yesterday. If he wanted me to speak as a matter of fact or share a personal opinion.
Oh, it was an opinion.
And Council said he was seeking my opinion on the matter.
In that case, we can't.
Yes, it was my personal opinion.
We can't set any store by it then.
Sorry?
We can't set any store by it.
Not at all. And but my Lord, respectfully, if you would just let me clarify that opinion for us, I am not in any way suggesting that the risk of armed militias, which is what I want to call, I wanted us to look at as a good thing for our country. No, I'm a victim, my Lord. I'm a victim of what that can be, or that can lead us to. So all I am saying is that if we want to stall this menace, which I think is a monster that is growing in this country, we must not do it in a pretentious manner, but face the bull and look at it in the face and say, look, madam, the solution to this whole menace, I believe, lies with our land tenure system. Our land tenure system. These so-called members, they don't do political activities every day. Most times once in 4 years. Or when there's a political activity, what do they do on daily basis? They are land guards. They are land guards. So if we fix our land tenure system, where you don't need to have land guards again, and then the police decides, and the police knows them, the former IGPs here, they know the land guards in Ghana. It's not as the politicians, the police knows them. If the police is allowed to do their job and clamp down on them, and there's no job for it, it's a demand and supply system, madam.
That's obviously an opinion also.
Absolutely an opinion.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Honorable. You are an engineer.
So if I heard you right, you together with your divisional commander and Detective Inspector Sule Jalo went to the scene of the shooting. Am I right?
Exactly, my lord.
What time would this be?
The information was relayed around 7:58 a.m. So that would be around 8:10, 8:15 a.m.
DSP, will you please share with the commission what your observations were on arrival at the scene?
We got to the La Baolishin Presbyterian cluster of schools. Initially, we thought that was where the incident happened. But I saw 2 young men, about 12, 13, and I inquired because I saw them with 2 spent shells in their hands.
Please go on.
So it was these people who directed me to the actual scene, which happened to be the presidential aspirant of the National Democratic Congress, Mr. Delali Brimpong. So we got there, and the initial information I gathered was that some people in brown trousers and black uniform, masked, came to the scene. Initially, they said they went to the Laobalishin Presby School, and somebody they met started taking video shots or photographs of them. That was the account the peoples I met gave to me. So when they demanded that those footages should be deleted, that person refused and ran towards Mr. Delali's residence. So those men followed him to that place. And when they got there, they decided to conduct some searches. And other people they met at the scene started throwing stones at them. And that was what necessitated the firing of live ammunition. Accounts I heard from the small boys I met.
So if I heard you right, this account you have just given of the incident was given to you by these 2 boys who had 2 spent shells. Is that the case?
Very well, my lord.
DSP, did you take their names?
I did, my lord. I took their names and I wanted their contacts, but they said they didn't have a phone, so they gave me the information on their teacher, the class teacher at the La Baolishin Presby School. So I have that, my lord.
So these were pupils.
I later gathered, they told me later, when I demanded for the 2 empty shells, and they told me because their school was not in session because of the by-election, they decided to come around.
Now, did they tell you where they picked these spent shells from?
They told me they found them around the school park.
Did you ask them to show you specifically where?
Yes, it was close to a location meant for garbage collection. Some 2 containers were there, and that was where they said they picked them from.
And how far is this from the house of Mr. Delali Brimpong?
It is quite far, about a kilometer.
And where exactly, from their account, did the shooting take place?
They did not tell me specifically, but they said they found them after the men had left the scene.
Yes, but do you have those shells?
My lord, I have them, but not here. My investigator has them. He's at the back, my lord.
Has there subsequently been any examination on those shells?
No, my lord. There was also somebody who had a collection of the spent shells. And that person, when I demanded for same to be handed over to me, refused and said he was going to use same for some purpose. But eventually, I asked my investigator to monitor him. So we got him at a point where he was granting some interview to some media men, and I had the collection of the empty shells captured, and it's on my phone. I later gathered his identity, and I'll pass it on to the commission so the same will be collected for ballistic analysis, my lord.
And who is this person?
He is the youth chief of Wala. I gathered, but I don't know his name. The Wala youth chief, my lord.
Yes, B. Is it a case of you not knowing his name because you didn't ask, or you didn't deem it as important?
I did, but he failed to mention same to me. It was upon my inquiries from sources at the scene I gathered he was the youth chief of Wala, my lord.
If you say youth chief of Wala, do you mean Wala in
Accra, my lord.
Accra?
Yes, my lord.
Where in Accra is called Wala?
My lord, Wala is supposed to be the name of an ethnic group. So the youth chief of that ethnic group. I have managed to get some information, and I would share, my lord, later.
Yes, B.
Yes, my lord.
The youth chief of Wala. Do you know his residence?
My lord, I gathered he lives around Weja.
Have you subsequently sought to locate specifically where he lives?
I am making some arrangement with some sources I have contacted to assist. My lord, I lost my mom, so I was on leave. That's how come the process has delayed a bit. So I'm in the process of doing so, my lord.
My condolence.
Grateful, my lord.
Now, did you seek to find out from this youth chief of Wala how he came by the spent shells?
My lord, I was challenged in terms of communication because he was more comfortable in the Hausa language. So it was my investigator, Detective Inspector Sule, who dealt with him most of the time. And I was briefed afterwards, my lord.
So what did Inspector Sule tell you had transpired between himself and the youth chief of Wala?
Inspector Sule briefed me that he wanted the spent shells to be handed over to him, but he said he wasn't going to do so, but he would allow him to have just a photograph of it. So that was what he allowed him to do, and he did.
Did he have any particular reason for that?
He said he was going to use it to make his case.
Where?
He did not indicate so, my lord.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but wouldn't there have been within the power of the police to compel him to hand over evidence of shooting?
My lord, the situation at the scene was not conducive, but I knew when the time comes, I can take legal steps to have it retrieved from him, my lord.
So, as we speak, it is a fact that the police do not have in their custody the spent shells shown to them by the youth chief of Wala. Is that the case?
Exactly, my lord.
How many of your men were with you at the scene?
Just Detective Inspector Sule Jalo, my lord.
Very well. Now, how many shells in all, according to the photograph you took, are in the possession of the youth chief of Wala?
Detective Inspector Sule briefed me that he counted them. The Wala youth chief counted, and he said there were 37 spent shells, my lord.
Now, did you subsequently take a good look at the scene?
I did, my Lord. I found some pieces of clues we could preserve for the crime scene team to come and process. So I improvised and had them preserved for the crime scene people to come and process.
And where are those pieces of clothing?
No clothing. I found spores with clues.
Clues.
Clues, my Lord.
Very well. In that case, will you take the commission through these clues you found?
My Lord, I saw bullet marks on a red pickup in front of Mr. Brimpon's residence. I saw bullet marks on a metal container and 2 trees that are also in front of Mr. Brimpon's house. And I saw 2 spores with blood splatters, so I managed to preserve them somehow for the crime scene. And my Lord, I must mention that before I got there, the scene had already been disturbed. People had worked on some of the places we could process for further action.
DSP.
Yes, my Lord.
Did you happen to meet the men described as being in black top and brown trouser at the scene?
No, my Lord. When we got there, they had left the scene. So I didn't meet them at all. They only described them to me when I got there and I inquired.
And you didn't previously or afterwards see them within the constituency?
No, my Lord.
Now tell the commission, apart from these people in black and brown who had left, did you meet any other people there?
I met so many people at the scene. The place happens to be a market area, sort of part of where Mr. Abimpong lives. People have their market centers in small kiosks there. So I met the women there who had come to open their shops for normal business. And then I met, if I am not mistaken, about 30 or so people gathered in front of Mr. Bimpong's house, my Lord.
Now, these 30 people who had gathered, did you seek to find out what their mission was?
I managed to talk to 1 or 2, and they said they had come to assist Mr. Brimpong in distributing food, water, and other accessories to their polling agents, my Lord.
And did they also tell you where they had come from?
They indicated various places. Some said they had come from Kasua, Weja, Mamobi, and Nima, my Lord.
Yes, B.
Yes, my Lord.
On the day of the incident, a number of people were also arrested. Did that come to your attention?
Very well, my Lord. It did, but I had the information at the scene through some conversation I happened to be within the people who were having seen that some people had been arrested and sent to the East Legon police station. So I called Detective Inspector Sule to go to the station, verify, and call me back so that a decision could be made. I didn't want to leave the scene because I had identified some spots we could process by the crime scene. So I rather asked Detective Inspector Sule to go to the station, verify, and then call me back. And he did, my lord.
Now, besides Detective Inspector Sule going to the station and informing you, did you have any opportunity at all to meet these people?
I did after they had been sent to the University of Ghana hospital.
So is it the case that you did not meet them at your station?
No, my lord.
Has it also come to your attention that some of these people had been injured?
When Inspector Sule got to the scene, he briefed me about the states they were in. They had been detained then and they were in custody. So I directed that they should be processed medical forms issued to them to seek medical attention, my lord.
And before your direction, for how long had they been at the station?
Per the records in the station diary, they were detained around 8:55 a.m.
So how long will that be?
It got to my attention around 9:15 thereabouts, if I'm not mistaken.
Close to an hour? Or an hour plus?
Yes, my lord.
Did Detective Inspector Jallo also tell you about the level of injuries sustained?
My lord, he did. And if I may quote him, he said they were wounded and they were bleeding.
So then?
So I directed that medical forms should be issued to them. And my lord, that is a basic police procedure. That when injured persons are brought to your custody, you offer them medical attention, my lord.
Basic police procedure?
Yes, my lord.
How soon after injured men get to a police station, according to the basic police procedure, are they to see or seek medical attention?
As soon as it is practicable, my lord, because you need to prepare the medical form you fill with their names and contacts before you issue them out. So as soon as you are able to prepare and hand them over to the people who need them.
ESP, correct me if I'm wrong, but if I heard you right, are you saying that the seriousness of the injury wouldn't determine the agency, but rather clerical, as in filling papers and when it's possible? Is that what you're saying?
No, my lord, not exactly that. But they will still need the medical forms to attend to the hospital. So, and preparation of it wouldn't take more than 10 minutes. It depends on the number, but if it is just one person, it is less than a minute and same will be prepared and handed over, my lord.
Yes, please. Since you were briefed, were you given the levels of injuries sustained?
My lord, my investigator told me they were wounded. I didn't probe to ascertain the level of injured. I just felt they needed medical attention, so I directed same should be given, my lord.
At the point of your direction, had they come to your attention, for instance, that they had been at your station for close to an hour or an hour plus?
My lord, I didn't get that information. I stated earlier that they are being arrested and being sent to the police station. I had that information at the scene. So I didn't know how long they have spent at the station, my lord.
Have you subsequently seek to find out who the officer on duty was on the day?
My lord, 2 officers are always at the counter. You mean the counter and
Exactly. The counter is where the first port of call, if I'm right. Is that so?
Yes, my lord.
So then, there will be officers there.
Yes, my
and
lord.
they will be the first port of call as always.
Yes, my lord.
So-
Koprajima, my lord.
Very well. So these people, upon being sent to the station, first of all, will meet these two officers. Am I right?
Yes, my lord.
And have you sought to find out why these officers did not see the need to send these people for medical attention until the DSP had to send directions?
My lord, I inquired from the station officer, and he indicated to me that when they were brought to the station by DSP Azugu, he detained them and informed the district commander. So the district commander came and had a brief interaction with them and said he was going somewhere and he will be back.
But what you are saying is that when they came to the station, the district commander was at the station, right?
I was told by the station officer that he was in his office. So after the detention, he informed him. I don't know whether he went personally to inform, but he told me he informed him. And he came and both of them entered the cell and had some brief interaction with the persons who had been brought there. 8 of them, my lord.
How many of these 8 persons were injured?
7. One said he was only bundled up together with the 7 when he got to the scene, so he declined taking the police medical form, my lord. So we issued 7 police medical form to the persons, the 7 persons, my lord.
Have you subsequently received these medical forms back?
My lord, when we issued the medical forms to the persons to attend hospital, I directed that Inspector Sule should accompany them to the hospital. Before then, I had contacted my divisional crime officer, Superintendent Mr. Kingsley Abuaje, about what I had done and the subsequent decision. And he said he would attend to them with investigators when they arrive at the hospital. So Inspector Sule went there with them and personally identified the 7 persons to my divisional crime officer and handed them over. So all the medical forms are supposed to be returned to my divisional crime officer, my lord. But subsequently, I inquired, and my information is that 7, my lord, 4 of them had been returned, and the medical officer who is supposed to write the report has promised that all of them will be ready by Thursday, my lord.
Yes, be which Thursday?
This very Thursday, my lord.
So, is it right to assume that as you sit here, you cannot tell the commission the level of injuries sustained by these persons arrested on the 31st of January 2019 and brought first of all to your station?
My lord, that will be included in the medical officer's report. I am in no position to determine levels of injury, but my investigator took photographs of them with their injuries at the station and when they were treated at the University of Ghana Hospital. And we have them. I have even printed the pictures in hard copy, my lord.
Very well. Can we have a look? ESP.
Yes, my lord.
These injured men, do you have their names?
Yes, my lord. I have their names with their contacts, my lord. But my challenge is I cannot match the names to the photographs. That is my difficulty because I did not meet them personally. But I have the names and the contacts, my lord.
Very well. Now, on the list are 8 men.
Yes, my lord.
Are you able to tell the commission which of these 8 men sustained various degrees of injuries?
All of them, apart from the 8th person who said he didn't need a police medical form, but all of them had some injury.
Have you subsequently sought to contact any of them since you have their numbers?
My lord, I did because I needed them to submit their medical forms to my divisional crime officer. And they said one of the party executives had collected them for the endorsement. So I contacted Theophilus. I have his contact number. So I have done that, my lord.
And who is this Theophilus?
I got to know him as I met him personally because when I visited the hospital after the crime scene, people had done their work. I was told he was somewhere being attended to by the medical officer because the wound he had was being sutured. So that's how come I had the personal contact with him and I took his number so that if I needed any further clarification, I could contact him, my lord.
And this Theophilus, is he on the list?
Yes, my lord. And his photograph, I can identify, I can match the photograph to the name, my lord. This is Theophilus. That's his back. Yes, my lord.
Now, let the record reflect that the witness has pointed to a huge man wearing a black t-shirt with the inscription "Deep Cool" written on the chest. And this man is between 2 other short men in white singlet. One of the men is bald-headed. The other one, who is not bald-headed, has got blood stains in his white singlet. The second picture shows the same people, but this time their backs are facing the camera. DSP.
Yes, my lord.
It is standard practice, isn't it, that when men are arrested, statements will be taken. Am I right?
Precisely so, my lord.
And was that standard practice followed this time?
Not exactly, my lord. Because of how my investigator had described their injuries to me, he said they were wounded. Before then, I had communicated with my divisional crime officer, and he was standing by with investigators to take up the initial inquiries after their treatment. So I didn't want to waste time. I just asked the investigator to accompany them to the hospital and hand over them to my divisional crime officer for further action, my lord.
Who is responsible for taking statements at the police station?
The case officer who the complaint is referred to for investigation.
So the people at the counter, what exactly do they do?
They only take the initial complaint. So depending on whether the information is received from a source or a member of the public was to the police station to lodge the complaint, it is the counter NCO who will listen to the narration and record same in the station diary, my lord.
The station diary. Have you subsequently looked at the station diary?
I haven't, but I just picked the relevant portions of the directive I gave to the investigator, but not the station diary as in the book, but the directives I gave, I have.
Are you saying that your directives were in the form of writing?
Yes, my lord.
But you were away from...
I narrated whatever I needed to be done to the investigator over the phone, and same was recorded in the station diary, my lord.
Will it not be standard practice for you to have signed for such directives?
No, my lord, we don't sign directives. They are entered in the station diary, and I only cross-check to ascertain whether what I had told him was exactly what was recorded. So I didn't need to. It is rather the person entering the entry who will sign against it, not the person who, unless it is a directive I have personally made myself in the station diary that I will sign.
DSP.
Yes, my lord.
In the station diary, where your directives have been recorded, in the same station diary, I want to believe that complaints were written.
Exactly, my lord.
Now, you've told the commission that you checked your directives, but you did not check the complaint. Is that what you're saying?
I did, my lord. I did. I did, and I can recount the specific complaint that was made by the DSP who brought the, should I call them suspects, to the station.
And this recount, will it reflect exactly what is in the station diary, or a summary of it?
I was told by the counter NCO that he wrote the entry on a piece of paper and he transferred it into the station diary. So I assume he would record accurately, my lord.
Now, you said about a minute ago that you could recount.
If you would permit.
Very well.
So the entry was DSP Samuel Azugu, and that was recorded at 8:55 a.m. Arrested and brought in 8 suspects. With a report that these suspects were met at Labaolishin polling station, and when they were asked to leave, they refused and attacked the patrol team, hence their arrest.
And these are the exact words in the station diary?
As I might have omitted something, but it should be, I am sure, my lord.
Have you got the station diary here?
It is here, my lord.
Is it far away?
It is not. It is with my station officer, just at the back, my lord.
DSP, for the purposes of accuracy, for the purposes of accuracy, will you please read what is recorded in the station diary, the time, if it captures the names and the details?
My lord, the entry has the serial number 4242, and it was entered into the station diary at 8:56 a.m. And it reads, DSP Mr. Samuel Azugu of National Security, in charge men, brought in 8 suspects with a report that the suspects were met at the Narration School polling station and attacked the patrol team from National Security when they were asked to leave the place, hence their arrest to the station. Not specifically here, but I tried, my
Very
lord.
close. I have to actually applaud you for that. That's very close. Now, subsequently, has your station carried out any investigation into the matter?
No, my lord. My divisional commander directed the divisional crime officer to take over from us. So where we had reached with our inquiries, it was just the basic initial complaints and the subsequent movements that were recorded on the diary of action. So we made an extract of it and handed it over to my divisional crime officer. So they have been carrying out the rest of the inquiries, my lord.
So then sitting here, you wouldn't know how far they've gotten to, am I right?
I have been following up. That's how come I got to know the medical forms will be ready on Thursday. And I have also made some contact with the teacher at the Narration School Park to get the pupils I spoke to ready for their statements to be taken. So once a while, I call my divisional crime officer to inquire.
Now, the 2 spent shells you found with the schoolboys, have you got it here?
The schoolboys?
Yeah. The spent shells, the empty casing, have you got them here?
No, my lord.
Where are they?
They are in the office, my lord. I will make them available. I really wanted to have the ones I saw with the Wala chief, so that all of them will be labeled together for subsequent ballistic analysis, my lord.
Yes, B.
Yes, my lord.
You agree with me that it's been close to a month since the incident. Am I right?
Very well, my lord.
Yes. I do acknowledge the fact that you were bereaved. But you will also agree with me that you have assistance. True or false? You have assistance?
I don't, but I have a station officer who is also a detective.
So then, any ballistic analysis that is supposed to be carried out on these spent shells, it didn't necessarily have to be done by you. Would you agree?
I agree, my lord.
And
but I needed to have it as a full exhibit to be forwarded. And that wouldn't even be done by me because my divisional crime officer has taken over from me. I would have handed them over to him for the forwarding and analysis, my lord.
Have you mentioned them to the divisional crime officer?
No, my lord.
Why not?
My lord, this information about the Wala Youth Chief, I needed to get some information about where he lives and how we can contact him. So I needed to establish some concrete information about the person. But I agree, I should have just mentioned the fact that there's this information in my custody to be given to him. I haven't done that, and I must admit that the bereavement and all that also created a bit of problem for me, so I will do that immediately.
So then, DSP.
Yes, my lord.
If the investigation has advanced and you still have not submitted this very important piece of evidence, you have then denied the team of investigators this important piece of information, which wouldn't be included. Am I right?
It could impede it a little, but it is not fatal. It can be done. Analysis can be done at any point in time during the investigative process, my lord.
If you say impede it a little, what do you mean by little?
I know the analysis can help us establish lots of things to help us in our investigation, but it is not fatal because it has delayed. It can be done at any point in the investigative process, my lord.
ESP. This is an incident which has caught the attention of the whole country. You agree with me?
I do, my lord.
And the whole country, as we speak, is waiting for the outcome of the investigation. Do you agree with me?
I do, my lord.
So then, you also agree with me that any delay, even if it's a day, is very important and cannot be described as little. Will you agree?
I do, but my lord, the specials I saw with the Wala Youth Chief had different ones, and I thought having them and then adding the two specials I had would enable us to do a comprehensive analysis about what's actually happened. So I didn't think just the two would be enough, because I was making arrangements to get all of them for a comprehensive analysis. They might have come from different weapons and not just the two. The two could have come from just one weapon. So because he had many of them, I thought having that and adding the two I had to it would give us a broader perspective on what actually happened, my lord.
Yes, we have. You mentioned the Wala Youth Chief to your divisional crime officer?
No, my lord.
When were you going to do that?
My lord.
If you were going to do that at all.
I was going to do that, but the challenge is I didn't just want to give an information without any substantive or substantial point to my divisional crime. So I didn't think just mentioning it that I saw some specials with somebody would be enough. I wanted to have concrete information and then hand them over to him, my lord.
Now, DSP, let me take you back to the picture you identified.
Yes, my lord.
Mr. Theophilus, yes, did he give you his address?
No, my lord.
Why
I
not?
only have his contact number.
Why not?
We have his address on his statement, my lord, with my divisional crime officer, where he lives.
Does he live in Accra?
He told me so.
Where, to be specific?
He didn't mention, he just said he lives in Accra, but he did not tell me the specific location.
Is it a case that you have not checked the statement he made?
I haven't. The statements are with my divisional crime officer. I have his medical form though on my phone, but I have not read his statement. It was only the statements Detective Inspector Sule took of the person who declined taking the medical form I have and I have read.
What does Theophilus do by way of profession?
I did not inquire, my lord. I thought those things, I didn't want it to appear like my senior is conducting an inquiry and I am interfering. So it is just the basic information about his name and his contact I have. I didn't prove further, and I knew my divisional commander, my divisional crime officer would do that, my lord.
At what point did the divisional command take over the investigation?
Same day, after the medical form had been issued to them and Detective Inspector Sule had accompanied them to the hospital. He met my divisional crime officer at the hospital because I had already called him that they were coming. So he identified them to him and handed them over, my lord.
You cannot put time to it?
That should be around 1 p.m., my lord.
Very well. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, your witness.